you've read it before, and then just like comes to life again. You're like, oh wow. So I started reading it and going, oh wow, I need to pay attention. Those questions I asked earlier, I think are problematic for everyone. And questions that just about everyone gets at some point or another, if you have or haven't. It comes from Numbers chapter 22, and that's what we're going to be looking at this morning. So if you have a Bible, you can get that open, and we're going to be skimming through some verses. Or it's going to be on the screen. All right? Yeah. It's going to be on the screen. So, has anyone ever heard this story before? Raise your hand if you've heard this story before. All right? If you haven't heard this hand, raise your hand too. So it's like, all right. So some people just don't know if they've heard this story before. That's okay. All right. There's always people just not committed. Just kidding. All right. So, all right. Balaam was this prophet who was a prophet of God, and he decided that he was going to walk away from that for money. All right. He was going to walk away from being a prophet for God for money. They believed at that time that if they went to him for profit, this was common, that they would pay him. Let's say that you were going to go into a battle, your kings of that nation would go to this prophet, and he would either bless them or curse them. If he cursed them, that means you were going to win. And so they would pay money for that. And that's what was going on. This other king was showing up. He saw God's people had come out of Egypt, and they were taking over certain areas, and they looked out and they're like, this is going to be bad. These people, they can destroy us. These people are full of power. God is with them. We need you to pronounce a curse upon them so we can win the battle. All right, and so that's where we're at. When we look in Numbers chapter 22, verse 9, okay? Then God came to Balaam and said, who are these men with you? I always find it interesting God asks people questions. Like he doesn't know the answer. Okay? I mean, wow, who are these men with you? I'm just curious. He already knows who they are. And it's just a question I'll ask him one day. Like, why do you ask questions when you knew the answer beforehand? So apparently he knows who they are. And Balaam said to God, this is verse 10, Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent word to me. And he goes on to say that there's these people that came out of Egypt. All right? God said to him, verse 12, do not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. All right? One thing that I see right away in this story is that here's God's people, and there's an adversary, but God is starting to protect them right away. One thing that God does for His people, and you can be sure that He's doing for you, is He's protecting. Make sense? He's starting to stand in the gap already between this nation that would seek to destroy His people and His people. And so right from the beginning, God's protected. That's good news, right? Great news. And Balaam should know this. Balaam, who was a prophet for God, is no longer. He decided to walk away from that and do something else. So it says in verse 13, Balaam arose in the morning and said to the Balak's leaders, go back to your land, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you. I find it interesting that God's still willing to talk to him. Right? He's a false prophet, but God's still having conversations with this guy, although he's walked away and doing his own thing. So he's still willing to talk to him. And there's another merciful guy. We get off on these beaten paths and stuff like that. God's still there, wanting to have a conversation, wanting to be in your life. And so he said that to them. They went back and they said, hey, he's not coming. He's like, all right, so here's what we're going to do. If you can just imagine your imagination. I'm going to send even more prestigious people, and I'm going to send more money. He must have not got enough money. If I give him some more money, he'll for sure do it. So he sends back other people, and he sends more money, and they're there. And verse 18. He comes back. Verse 18. Balaam replied to them, after they wanted to curse him, to the servants, though Balak were to give me this house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything, either small or great, contrary to the command of the Lord my God. Alright? He's like, I'm not going to do anything contrary to God. But please, just stay the night. And I'm going to go talk to God about this one more time. Alright? It doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, first he prayed a prayer, and he said, God, what do you want me to do? And he's like, don't do it. Don't go with them. And they come back again, like I said, and now they come back with even more money. And he's like, well, I'm not going to do this at all, but let me talk to God one more time about it, and just to make sure that he knows what he's doing. All right? Maybe that's it. So, you just stay the night. So, verse 20. God came to Balaam at night and said to him, if the men have come to call you, rise up and go with them. But only the word which I speak to you shall you do. Hold on a second. For me, that's like a red flag. First, I prayed to you, you told me not to go. Now I pray to you again, and you tell me I can go. What gives? Okay? And then to find out later, as you watch the story, God's mad at him for doing it when he told him he could go. Make sense? Why do you think he changed his mind? Share at your table for just a couple minutes. Why do you think God changed his mind? Okay? Because he did change his mind. Ready?